So, this morning when I was meditating, I heard loud and clear, Carrie, you need to tell the baby corn story. And I was like, okay, excuse me, what? Where? When? So I did a little bit of checking in, and sure enough, my higher self is nudging me to tell you guys this story on my business page, which honestly, I don't know the why behind it, but I know enough to know that when your higher self asks you to do something, you do it because your higher self always has your best interest in mind. So if you don't know me, hello, my name is Carrie Roldan, and I help entrepreneurs, just heart-centered entrepreneurs, just like you, to let their higher selves run their business. And when you do, freedom and abundance and miracles follow. So I am taking my own advice here and letting my higher self run my business by telling this story on my business page. So the reason I'm doing a little bit of eye rolling is because this is a personal story that seems to have very little to do with business. But like I said, maybe in the telling of it, it'll be clear why I'm supposed to tell you this on my business page. So this is the story that I am most requested to tell, meaning anybody who has heard the story is both intrigued and kind of horrified by it and will want me to tell the story to other people who haven't heard it. So this is Carrie's baby corn story. Strap in, it's a little bit gross. So the story of the baby corn is actually the story of the greatest amount of pain I've ever been in. And I want to let you guys know that up front because I have given birth drug-free. So this was worse pain than giving birth drug-free. Giving birth drug-free was actually no big deal. Okay, so before I tell the baby corn story, I actually need to tell a previous story, which is just that after my first child, I had, I forget what it's called when you have like a breast infection and mastitis. I had mastitis. And if you know me, you know I'm not a huge fan of going to the doctor. Like I'm always looking for a home remedy. This is partially because I believe in natural medicine and partially because I'm just too lazy to drag my butt to the doctor's office, especially when I don't feel good. Like the last thing I want to do when I don't feel good is get up and go to an appointment. So I had mastitis after my first daughter was born, and it seemed to like clear up on its own, but then not too long afterwards, I had this little like bump in my armpit, which at first just seemed like, you know, like a shaving bump or something. And then it got a little bit bigger. And then I was clear it was like something that was a little bit infected. But eventually, I think I wound up getting antibiotics for it, and then it like burst, and it was the grossest thing. This isn't even the gross part of the story, but it was super gross. So like it had been in my armpit, but after it had burst, I could press like right here on my arm and dark green, disgusting pus would come pouring out of my armpit. Okay, I'm horrified that I'm telling you this on my business page, but let me continue. So that was after baby number one. So it didn't really occur to me that it was related to the mastitis. I don't know if it was coincidental, but that happened after baby number one. So after baby number two, he is like maybe 2 weeks old, probably not even 2 weeks old. He's probably like a week and a half old. And I also have a 2-year-old. And my husband and I have to take a 10-hour road trip to go to my husband's uncle's wedding. So, you know, we're trying to figure out when's the best time to go. And, you know, like, God, having a newborn, a brand newborn, and a 2-year-old is like, I just describe it as being underwater. So I was living underwater, and, you know, my husband's like, let's take a 10-hour road trip. And I'm like, okay, I'll pack everybody up. So it was the night before, and we had decided, okay, when Brady, he was the baby at the time, when Brady wakes up for his middle of the night feeding, I'll feed him, and then we'll put everybody in the car and we'll go. So it'll be like 2 a.m, but that will be best. The kids will sleep for a long time, and then, you know, we can deal. So luckily my 2-year-old was an amazing sleeper. But the night before, I remember as I was packing things up, and I had taken a drink of something. And you know how when you're sick, when you're starting to get sick, your like lymph nodes in your throat, sometimes you're more aware of them. At least that's what happens for me. I became more aware of the lymph nodes in my throat. And I had like just a little something on the right-hand side when I swallowed. And I remember thinking like, oh God, I think I'm getting sick. Okay, let me like drink lots of fluids and whatever I had. But also like I was living underwater. I just needed to get these kids to bed. I was packing everybody. I was like, it was for a wedding and I just had a baby. So I was like trying to figure out what I could wear and all of that was happening. So it's the night before, I'm exhausted. I have to get up at like 2 to get in the car and go. So I do my best to get everybody ready and we go. But I remember feeling like, oh, I think I might be getting sick. But I'm too tired to give a crap about it. So I wake up at, in the middle of the night, feed the baby, get everybody in the car, we get going, and we hadn't even left our we left our neighborhood and pulled into the gas station. And I remember telling my husband like, oh man, I think I'm coming down with something. Like I don't feel great. And he's kind of like, okay, well, we're about to be on the road. What do you want me to do? So, nothing. I don't even care. But as the trip went on, I just felt worse and worse. And what started out as like not feeling good became pain. And it was, if you've ever had like ear, mouth, jaw pain, it got more and more painful as the trip went on to where I realized like, okay, I'm definitely sick, but what is it that hurts? Is it my ears? Is it my jaw? Is it my throat? Like, what is it that hurts? Because the pain was now sort of everywhere. And also like I was probably, like head congestion or something. So I just was like sort of I was like going inward. So hours go by and pretty soon I'm like, I can't swallow. Like I need to call the doctor. Okay. Again, having a baby, no pain meds, not a problem. But I'm like calling the doctor saying, listen, I need something for this pain. I'm having, it's like, it hurts to swallow. My jaw hurts, my ears hurt. Like there's something going on. There's some sort of infection. Of course, the doctor's like, well, where does it hurt? And I'm like, I don't know. It hurts. And give me something for the pain. And thank God my doctor knew me well. And so she's like, okay, but the problem is I need to have somewhere to prescribe it. Where are you? Where are you going? And this was before before everybody had smartphones. I don't think I had a smartphone then. Like, I'm surprised I even have my doctor's phone number in my phone. But so as the trip goes on, like now I'm having trouble swallowing. And finally I'm recognizing, then I'm like looking in the car mirror. Thank God my kids were like decent on this trip. And we're stopping to feed the baby and I'm just like in so much pain. But eventually I noticed that my gums, like everything in there was itching. And I realized that they were itching because it was swollen. Like everything in my jaw, mouth, throat, ear, general area was inflamed. And literally my gums, like the skin on the inside of my mouth was all swollen. And so it was itchy and it was uncomfortable and my throat, it hurt so bad. So, I made my husband stop somewhere and like get me chloroseptic. Cause at this point I'm like, just get me there so I can sleep, as maybe I'll feel better. So he's like getting chloroseptic, which if you've ever had that, I mean, it like, ugh, it's the worst. It tastes like you're not supposed to swallow it, I don't think, but I don't know how you don't swallow it, but it's like numbing poison. It's awful. So anyways, I'm doing that and I'm like wanting it on my gums, like I'm rubbing it everywhere. I just want to go numb in this general area. And I have no idea what's wrong, but I know for sure it's some sort of infection. I forgot to mention, maybe I didn't forget to mention, but that I had mastitis after my son was born. So this was probably like a week after the mastitis. So finally we figure out, okay, there's a Walgreens or something in this neighborhood. So my doctor prescribes where we finally get to. We were in Anderson, California. So my doctor prescribed some sort of antibiotic and Vicodin. And I was like, okay, thank you so much. I knew that there was something infected and I knew I need something for this pain. Like I cannot function. I have a 2-year-old and an infant. I haven't slept. I'm in so much pain. Please help. So my husband, love this guy. So my husband is like, goes into Walgreens or wherever to get the prescription. And they tell him, and I can't swallow, I mean, everything hurts. And they tell him, okay, here's her prescription and she needs to take it with food. So he goes to buy me some food to eat. We weren't like to the hotel yet. he buys me some food that I can have while I'm taking this medication. And he gets me like a Nature Valley bar. Like it was like, it's not soft food. It's not like yogurt or like something that would go down easy. It was like swallowing glass. But I don't even care because I just want to get the pain meds in me, right? So, you know, I'm taking this, eating this granola bar, and I'm like crying as I'm eating because everything hurts. It hurts to chew. It hurts to swallow. It hurts to have things in my mouth. Like it's just awful. And my ears hurt. So I get a few bites of granola bar down. I take the antibiotic and I take the Vicodin, and I'm like just now waiting for relief. Like, okay, because I remembered, I knew it was sort of related. Like I had a clue that it would be the same as it was in my armpit, in the sense that I'll get the antibiotics, whatever is causing the infection, it'll start to feel better relatively quickly. So I totally expected to feel better soon. But then when I don't know how soon, but like I wanted instant relief. So we had like a rehearsal dinner to get to that night. So we had driven for 10 hours, and I'm telling my husband, like, I can't. Like, I'm going to go to the rehearsal dinner and I'm going to order soup because I need to have something in my body. But I am in so much pain. I'm like super sick. There's no way I can go to, there's something wrong with me. There's no way I can go to this wedding. And it just keeps getting worse. Vicodin did nothing for the pain. Like I was calling back the doctor saying there's zero pain relief. What do I do? And they're like, well, you can take Advil like I think it was like if you take say you take Vicodin every 4 hours, I don't remember exactly, you could take Advil the 2 hours in between. So I'm like popping this stuff, like just waiting for some sort of pain relief, which by the way, never came. So everything's hurting. My throat, and things are really swelling up in there. So I managed to get through the rehearsal dinner. I don't know how. I had soup. I'm like delirious. Like I'm just, I'm already underwater with these two kids, and now I'm sick and underwater. So I'm just like sort of like moving through, like smiling at people, but like, oh, so much pain, so much pain. And then we go back to the hotel room with these, you know, this tiny baby that needs to be fed like every couple hours, and my 2-year-old, who thank God was amazing. And I'm like trying just to like go through the motions of getting everybody ready for bed. And you know, I think Jim and my 2-year-old slept, and we had 2 beds in our room, and Jim and my 2-year-old slept in one bed, and I think the baby and I slept in the other bed. And I was just like, I gotta go to a doctor. Like something is not right. And yet I was so tired, and I like didn't have the bandwidth or the energy, and I was in so much pain to deal with what it would take to get myself to like an emergency room or something like that. And I remember even like going through my insurance stuff and being like, I'm just so tired. I'm in so much pain. I'm out of network. Like what the hell? And yet I recognized, okay, the swelling isn't stopping. So somewhere during the night, I recognized that like, wow, I can hardly stick my tongue out. So on a normal day, I can stick my tongue out like this. And on that day, like I could only do like that was as far as it would go. It was, everything in my mouth was so swollen that I couldn't even stick my tongue out. And I still didn't know where the pain was coming from. Everything hurt and things were getting swollen. And I remember feeling like, maybe I should be concerned that my throat is going to close during the night. And then I was literally too tired to care. And so I was willing to risk it. And so, you know, I'm half sleeping all night long, but I'm really in too much pain. I'm popping Vicodin and Advil. I'm waking up and nursing this baby while my husband and toddlers sleep in the bed next to us. And I'm just like I can't even explain how I've never felt worse. But somewhere in the middle of the night, you know, and then you're constantly looking, right? So I'm like in the mirror, like looking in my mouth, looking at my throat, looking at my tonsils. Somewhere in the middle of the night, I look under my tongue, and I saw that underneath my tongue, there was a little red, like a reddish purple spot. And that was, my dogs are going crazy. Hey, get off the couch. Socks, get down. So that was my like, oh, yay, okay, there. That's something, that's where the pain is coming from. And somehow knowing that helped a little bit. Like then I could keep looking at that little red spot, right? but I'm so tired. I'm in and out of nursing and sleeping. And sometime, probably around 2 in the morning, I notice like I feel something underneath my tongue. And so I look at the spot under my tongue, and now it was like a zit with a white head. So I was like, okay, progress. Whatever the infection was, that's probably when I made the connection with the mastitis and the thing that had been in my armpit. Like, oh, it's like that, right? Because that had a similar thing happen. And so I was like, okay, it's coming to a head. This is a good thing. And also, how gross, right? To have like a zit in your mouth. So another hour or two goes by, I wake up again, and now there's like something poking me in the bottom of my tongue. It's like this zit is growing a horn, and it's poking me. So I'm recognizing like, okay, this is like calcified. This, what the hell? But I'm just like, all right, well, that's weird. And I'm too tired to care, and everything still hurts, and I'm still popping pain medicine, and I know that I need to eat. And by this time, my husband and daughter are up, and they're going downstairs to get breakfast. And I'm like, well, can you just like find me a milkshake or something that I can swallow that will go down easily. And so maybe he brought me the milkshake first. So he brings me a milkshake, and then they go down to like the continental breakfast at the hotel. And while they're gone, so I have this sleeping baby, and I'm drinking the milkshake, and this is so gross. I can't believe I'm telling this on my business page. I taste pus in my mouth. So gross. So I recognize, okay, something's happening. So I go to the bathroom, and I look in the mirror, and I can see now that thing that was like just poking me in the bottom of the tongue, it's like a full-on horn, like a gross, disgusting, calcified horn that's sticking out of the bottom of my mouth and poking me in the tongue. And there's like pus around it. And it occurs to me that it's big enough, I can literally put my fingers on it, and I can pull it out of my mouth. Now, let me just tell you, when I decided to pull it out of my mouth, I don't know if I thought I would snap it off, or like, I don't know what I thought would happen, but I just was like, okay, I can pull this out. So I'm alone in my hotel room while the baby's sleeping. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to pull this out of my mouth. And so I'm looking in the mirror, I lift up my tongue, I reach in there, and I pull. This is where the baby corn comes in. What came out of my mouth was like, have you ever popped a zit and like there's a core to the zit? It was like that. It was a core that came out of my mouth, and I used the baby corn analogy because it was the consistency, like the thickness and the like kind of soft, like not squishy pus, but like it had the consistency of a baby corn. It was as big around as my pinky, and it was probably like 2 knuckles long. So about that big, that I pulled out of the bottom of my mouth. Now, let me tell you, the smell that came out of my mouth was disgusting. I mean, like whatever you think the smell of infection is, it was that. So I pull this thing out, and I'm like, ugh, oh my God. I put it on the counter because I'm like, cannot believe it. This was before there was like social media. This is before there was, smartphones where you could take pictures of stuff. I don't know why, to this day, every time I tell the story, people are like, did you save it? Did you? No, I didn't save it. It wasn't a thing. I didn't take a picture for social media. That would have been the grossest thing to post on social media anyways. But there it was on the kitchen counter. Oh my God, you guys, instant relief. The minute that thing came out, I felt better. I was like, because it was the morning of, I was like so sick. There's no way I'm going to this wedding. This thing comes out of my mouth. And I was like, oh, okay, I could totally go. Let me get dressed. I felt instant relief, but here's the gross stuff. So I pulled this out of my mouth. Now there's a hole. There's like a giant hole, the diameter of my pinky, underneath my tongue. It gets even grosser. So I realize, okay, there's like some infection, and I don't know why, but just like when I had the hole in my armpit and it occurred to me to push right here and watch the pus pour out, I recognize that I can push right here. And you guessed it, disgusting, thick, green pus pours into my mouth. Like it's like a volcano erupting a pus volcano erupting under my tongue. So I push on my throat like this, and it pours into my tongue and I'm like spitting pus into the sink. So my husband and daughter get back from breakfast and I'm like, hey, come look at this. I show this disgusting thing to my husband, who I don't even remember his reaction. It was probably like, oh my God. But also he was totally relieved that I felt better and could go with him to his uncle's wedding, and was like, great, all right, let's get dressed. And I threw my disgusting baby corn into the toilet and flushed it, and felt better all day long. But the hole in my mouth didn't close immediately. So it was like, I wasn't showing everybody at the wedding because come on, that would be gross. But all the people, all my in-laws and my brothers and sisters-in-law who knew that I wasn't coming because I was sick and now was suddenly there and had heard the story, because you better believe I was telling the story of the baby corn to everybody. They all got to witness me pushing on my neck and then watching pus pour into my mouth, because that's the kind of people we are. So that is my baby corn story. It perhaps is, so many of you might be asking, what was it? What was wrong with you? I don't know. I've heard maybe it was an infected salivary gland. My belief is that it's just the infection from the mastitis had to go somewhere, right? So after my first kid, it went to my armpit. After my second kid, it went to my throat. After my third kid, I was so afraid, right? Because those are where lymph nodes are, right? So I was so afraid it was going to go to like my groin area. I think I got mastitis after the third kid, but no more baby corns, no more pus coming out of places where it's not meant to come out of. Let's face it, pus isn't meant to come out of anywhere. So there you are, people. Everybody who, maybe you just felt like you needed to know me a little bit better, and now we really know each other because you know my baby corn story. But that is the story that I get the most requests to tell, is the story of the baby corn. And my apologies, there's no Instagram page for the baby corn. There's no photographic evidence of the baby corn. You just have to take my word for it. But people, since my higher self told me to tell this story to you guys on my business page, can you please leave me a comment? Let me know why. Why was it important for you to hear that story? You can also leave me a comment about just how gross it is, or anything else. I would love actually to know how many other people have birthed baby corns out of different orifices of their bodies. What this has to do with your business, I don't know, but I hope you enjoyed the story.